All right. Last class we were working on assignment 7, and coming on this Monday after the weekend, it's always good to check in with our course outline. And we are branching into the final page of our course outline as we are at the end of April. So today is the 28th. Assignment 7 is due. This is our digital painting assignment. To meet the requirements of it, and I'll try to be really clear on this, it doesn't mean you need to have a fully finished digital painting. It means you have to have a digital painting with photo reference that shows at least 2 different approaches. And that's going to be a base painting layer that's 100% opacity, and then a refined painting layer at a lower opacity, both with custom brushes. Now I can tell all of this by just looking at the paint texture of what you turn in. But that doesn't mean you need to have a finish on every part of it, because some digital paintings are more ambitious than others. This is just to introduce you to the technique. So once we get that done, we'll have a little presentation critique, and we're really going to focus on the process. Because as we're doing digital painting and you get to decide how you use the tools, your process becomes much more individual and much more infused with your own personality. And that's important, especially as we do the next big thing we need to do in today's class, which is introduce assignment 8. It's your final conceptual project. It's the only project in the semester that's worth 10 points. That's 10% of your overall grade, and it's graded by a class critique on idea, execution, effort, and pizzazz, right? So that's going to be where you have full autonomy to use the tools as you wish, but you're all going to be reacting to a theme that I give to everybody. We start that today by starting Proving Ground number 4. Proving Ground number 4 is a way of sketching and improving your idea for assignment 8, and it's the final proving ground to earn your creative problem solving badge, right? And you're going to be doing your sketches and your ideation between now and Wednesday's class. So on Wednesday's class, I can meet with you individually about that. So you're going to see that coming up. We do our individual process critiques on Proving Ground number 4 next class. And then we basically have April 30th full class to work on it. That's Wednesday. We have Monday's class, May 5th, to work on it and print it. And then May 7th, it needs to be done at the beginning of class so that we have it up, printed, and ready for class critique. And then on May 7th, our last class day, that's when your final project is due, but it's also when any improved assignments that you want a new score for have to be turned in. And it's also when we're going to do a review for the final exam. And then our final exam is May 14th. So we do not meet on Monday of finals week. We meet May 14th a little early at 12 noon so that you are assured 2.5 hours for that exam. So printing is going to happen mostly on May 5th and in open hours between May 5th and the beginning of class on May 7th, right? Not just printing for your final project, but also printing for your final portfolio. If you wanted to print your poster, your spot illustration, add those to your 3 from the midterm, that's the time to do it. All right. So everything's there on the course outline. That does not change. We're just trying to keep pace with it. And that leads us to continuing assignment 7. So this is what we've been working on. This is what we've done so far. I'm choosing to do my cat, but you can also do a portrait from the shoulders up. And let's see. Here we go. So we left off with starting the refined paint layer. I don't know why I called it getting. It's not quite accurate, but whatever. Okay. So I have to find these files, open them up, and then we are going to post them to assignment 7, which we can shortcut to by going to assignments off the home page, scrolling down to assignment 7, where there's a lot of supplemental inspiration and helpful materials. But you post it where it says post here. And what I have posted so far is the first part of the 2 requirements, and that is the photo reference. And it's always good to have more than 1 photo reference, but as long as you have 1, you're meeting requirements. Problem is, if you just have 1 photo reference, then it's just going to look like that 1 photo. But you can also post artistic reference. So I posted this, I think it's a Joan Mitchell painting, and then a Helen Frankenthaler painting. And this is where I am. All right. So let's open it up in Photoshop, just because Photopea is not working for me. I can check again. Works at home. But I think our campus has it blocked. Yep. Which is annoying for many reasons. But that's a district decision. All right. So we go to assignment 7, and I open up my PSD. That's my Photoshop document that has all the stuff in it. And I just remind myself, remember, my biggest advice for digital painting is to lock every layer you're not painting on, so you don't accidentally paint on it. And so the 2 requirements to see in your digital painting is that you have a fully opaque base paint layer like this, that where the brush is at 100% opacity, and that you're using a customized brush of some sort, whether you made it or whether you're using one of these brushes. If I get to the brush tool. Photoshop, about 4 versions ago, partnered with Kyle's brushes. So you have a lot of different ones here that you could also play with, like his oil brush. And then I could try painting with that, right? Which is a blender brush. But the problem with it is you need to understand how they work in order to make effective use of them. And so as I'm using this, it's blending the colors that come from underneath. It's called a mixer brush with whatever color I choose. So if I put green here, it will then blend the green into this. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot like oil paint, but it's all done through brush settings. So if I look at the brush settings for it, I can see that. It's got what's called build up to it and transfer to it. That's how it's mixing with the colors around it. But until you understand all of that, it's best to just make your own brush, like I've done at the bottom here, and then customize it with your brush settings. So I'm going to go back in my history before I played with Kyle's brush. But these are custom brushes. I just want the regular brush. So that is what your brush looks like. Because we're reopening up Photoshop, we might need to reset these brush settings. Otherwise, it just looks very same all the time. Right, like that. So how do we do that? You find your brush or you recreate a brush, right? And then you open up your window and then brush settings. Oops. And then the one I want you to play with is shape dynamics. This is without getting into kind of mixer qualities or anything else, or transferring or anything else. It's just playing with the angle jitter, very important, the roundness jitter, I like quite a bit, and then of course the size control you want to be based on pressure. So now when I use it, this brush is a lot more particular and kind of organic and controllable. Okay. We are working on this refined paint layer, and the difference between the refined paint is that the refined paint is at a lower opacity. The brush you use is at a lower opacity. So I have it at 75% here. It could be like 50, 60%. And I'm going to use it a little bit smaller. And now when I put these colors in, you see that they blend and they create new colors. Like I was showing here last class, they mix with each other. But this still gives me full control, unlike the mixer brush. like Kyle's mixer brush for oils, this gives me full control of the color that I actually paint with. And that's important. So you can see this is where I've kind of approached it with the refined paint so far. I'm going to keep working on the eyes. And sometimes I will bring in my references a little bit closer to where I'm painting in this refined paint stage. So to remind you how to do that, I have my references here. And it's really this one. I'm going to copy that face expression I want, and I'm just going to paste it in on its own layer. Make it a little bit bigger so I can look right at it as I paint. I can even play with image adjustments really quick and optimize it. But I want that kind of lopsided expression. That's what I'm going on. So with the refined paint layer, remember, lock any layer you're not painting on. I'm going to work with my brush. I'm going to work at an opacity that's closer to 50. And I'm going to steal colors from everywhere. Because when I build over the top of them, they create a more interesting paint surface texture. And whatever colors I use, I want to try to use in lots of places. So if I make the eyes kind of green and yellow, like they are, I want to make sure I bring those colors into other places as well. And because it's only at 50% or 60% on the refined paint, even when you use what looks like solid white, when you paint it over something, you get a new color, you get a new variation that you can make use of. Especially in something like black fur, I want to find a lot more color variations than just gray and black. So I can throw that really bright orange in there, these blues. They can kind of cancel each other out. Because this is my painting. I'm not just trying to be a camera. I always like to use red around the eyes, thinking that there's like kind of blood in the skin. But then when you paint around it and over it, like for upper eyelids, lower eyelids, that starts to push it back. And this is the modeling. So the more you work with it, the more you'll kind of find your way. This is where most of the time spent on digital painting is kind of blending and refined painting. And if you feel like a color is missing from your palette, you can always just source it right from that color selector. So the real challenge is not to slow down, not to attack it with any less urgency, even though you're on a refined layer. You still want to take a lot of chances and experiment with the tools. And the reason we have that base paint layer safe underneath is we're never going